Hong Kong's government has accused a UK-based human rights group, Hong Kong Watch, of endangering China's national security law, demanding that it shuts its website. But Hong Kong Watch insists that they will not remain silent, despite threats of jail time as well. CEO of Hong Kong Watch, Benedict Rogers, joins us now. Benedict, thank you so much for your time on this, such an important discussion.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Benedict, while China heavily restricts the internet on the mainland, Hong Kong doesn't generally censor the web, allowing its residents to access sites that might be critical of Beijing. But Hong Kong Watch, though, is the first overseas advocacy group to be targeted by this law. Can you just explain to us what has happened here? What are they accusing your group of?
Yes, so just over a month ago, we learned from a number of sources in Hong Kong that our website was blocked. And we made inquiries to seek an explanation for why that was. And about 2 weeks ago, I received firstly a letter from the Hong Kong police force, and then that was followed by an email from the Hong Kong National Security Bureau, basically saying that our website and by implication our organization poses, in their words, a serious threat to China's national security. It demanded we take it down within 72 hours of receipt of the letters, and failure to comply could result in me personally, as the co-founder and CEO of Hong Kong Watch, facing a very heavy fine of 100,000 Hong Kong dollars and a potential jail term of anything between 1, 3 and life imprisonment.
How do they justify this? And I guess, how did you respond to this? What happens from here?
Well, they justify it under the very draconian national security law that was imposed on Hong Kong 2 years ago, which does include within it a clause known as the extraterritoriality clause that basically says it doesn't matter whether you're in Hong Kong or a resident of Hong Kong, you can be anywhere in the world and be in violation of their national security law. So they're using that against us. In terms of what happens next, we're certainly not going to comply. We're very grateful that the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss made a very strong statement. Other governments, including, in fact, Australia and Canada and others, have spoken up for us. And the only serious implications, I think, are that there's nothing they can really do to me in London, but I do have to be mindful when I travel. If I travel to countries that have extradition agreements with Hong Kong or China, then I might need to take account of that. And obviously, cybersecurity is the other consideration we have to look at.
Before we get into the national security law, and I want to talk about how dangerous that could be at the moment, what other threats have you received? Has your family received threats? Are they safe?
Yes, so actually for the last 2 or 3 years, I have received regular threatening letters at my home address. Some of those letters went to my neighbours in the street that I live in London. And my mother has received a number of letters asking her to tell me, her son, to stop doing what I'm doing. Now, luckily, I have a wonderful mother who's very supportive of what I do and not fazed by this at all. And she just laughed and said she'd given up trying to tell me what to do many years ago. But the latest thing that she has received was a kind of mock-up of an Interpol warrant, and of course it was totally fake, and we knew that. And again, her response was kind of to laugh. But it's at the same time obviously not pleasant to know that my mother, who's 80, is receiving these kind of letters.
It's extremely distressing, and even the fact that they know where she is as well. I can't imagine what you're feeling at the moment, and just trying to do your job and shine light on what's unfolding there. How dangerous is Hong Kong's national security law, now controlling conversations far beyond its borders? Is Beijing just sending a message to the world, shut up unless you're on our team, basically?
That's exactly what Beijing is doing. And I think it is a dangerous law, because although in this instance I and my family and the Hong Kong Watch team are all very determined not to be silenced, and we won't be, and we will continue doing our work. Imagine if you were someone who didn't have a mother as as alert and relaxed and supportive as mine, or if you just were more afraid of these kind of things, people could be silenced. So this is Beijing really reaching out well beyond its borders to uh, threaten our basic freedoms in the democratic world.
When you say that you won't stay silent now, I mean, we've all heard about China's reports of human rights abuses, but is there something you were working on or getting close to fuel this desire for immediate shutdown?
Well, it's hard to know, but I think possibly one factor in this is that we were absolutely at the forefront of an effort in the UK to, firstly, to lobby for the British government to introduce its British National Overseas Scheme for Hong Kongers, which is a very generous lifeline to potentially up to 3 million Hong Kongers to come to the UK. And we also advocated for them to extend that to young Hong Kongers born after 1997, which they did in the end. So I guess that could be one thing that Beijing doesn't like about our success in our advocacy. Also, we've been very much at the forefront of calls for sanctions against Beijing and the Hong Kong government for dismantling Hong Kong's freedoms, and that's clearly a red line in their mind under the national security law.
I also wanted to ask you about something that's unfolding inside China's borders. An Australian journalist, Cheng Lei, is on trial in China for spy charges. Now, she was working for Chinese state media, CGTN, and they're accusing her of supplying state secrets. There are concerns now for her well-being, the trial's being held behind closed doors. Do you know much about this at all?
I've certainly followed the case just through the media. I don't have any inside knowledge of it beyond that, but I think it's extremely concerning. And it's yet another example of China not just threatening, but arresting and imprisoning not only their own citizens, but foreign nationals. We've seen this with the two Michaels from Canada who were eventually released but spent a long time in prison. We've seen it with Gui Minhai, a Swedish national, although Chinese born, abducted from Thailand. And now we see it in the case of an Australian citizen and journalist. And I think it's something that democracies around the world need to be a lot more alert to, and basically need to. And I commend Australia for the stand it's been taking over the last few years. I think Australia has really stood up to China, but the rest of the democratic world needs to do the same, and we need to coordinate better our responses to Beijing's increasing aggression.
Benedict, I want to thank you for your time today on this really important discussion. Please stay safe and thank you so much again.
Thank you.